The 6:47 a.m. commuter train to Chicago cut through the November morning like a silver knife, its windows fogged with the breath of dreams deferred and hopes hanging by threads. Inside car number 3, seat 14B, Maya Rodriguez clutched her 8-month-old daughter Emma against her chest, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on her 24-year-old shoulders. The eviction notice crumpled in her purse seemed to burn through the worn fabric, a paper demon whispering that she had exactly 72 hours to find a miracle. Maya's tears fell silently, each drop a prayer she couldn't voice aloud. Emma stirred in her arms, tiny fingers grasping at air, unaware that their small apartment, the only home she'd ever known, would be locked away from them by sunset on Friday. The baby's soft breathing was the only sound Maya wanted to hear, drowning out the conductor's announcements and the rustle of newspapers from passengers whose biggest worry was whether their morning latte would be hot enough. She pressed her lips to Emma's forehead, inhaling that sweet baby scent that somehow made everything bearable and unbearable all at once. "I'm going to figure this out, mi amor," she whispered in Spanish, the language of her grandmother's lullabies. "Mom is going to make everything okay." But Maya didn't know how. The job interview waiting for her in downtown Chicago was for a position that paid barely above minimum wage, enough to keep them fed, maybe, but not enough to secure a new apartment with first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit that might as well have been $1 million. Her phone buzzed with another text from her landlord, and she quickly silenced it, not ready to face whatever new ultimatum awaited her there. 3 rows behind her, Alexander Chen had been watching this scene unfold for the past 20 minutes. At 32, he built an empire in sustainable technology that made him more money in a day than most people saw in a year. His tailored suit cost more than some people's monthly rent, and the phone in his hand held the power to move millions with a single call. But right now, none of that mattered. What mattered was the young woman with the sleeping baby, whose shoulders shook with silent sobs she thought no one could see. Alex had noticed her the moment she boarded at Riverside Station, moving with the careful, exhausted grace of someone carrying more than just a child. He'd seen her check her phone repeatedly, watched her face crumble a little more each time, witnessed her quickly wipe away tears before they could wake her baby. He'd spent his life surrounded by people who wanted something from him: investors seeking funding, employees angling for promotions, socialites hoping to attach themselves to his success. But this woman had no idea who he was. Her pain was raw and real and completely unguarded, and it stirred something in Alex that his wealth had never been able to touch. Growing up in foster care had taught Alex about loneliness, about the particular ache of not knowing where you'd sleep next week. He'd clawed his way out of that uncertainty through scholarship applications written by flickering streetlight and programming code learned on library computers. Now, watching this young mother fight the same battle he'd once faced, he felt every comfortable wall he'd built around his heart begin to crack. Alex pulled out his phone and did something he'd never done before. Instead of calling his assistant or texting his board members, he opened a new message and typed carefully, "I'm sitting behind you, and I hope you don't think I'm overstepping, but I can see you're having a really difficult morning. Is there anything I can do to help?" He hesitated for a long moment before hitting send, then watched as Maya's phone lit up in her hand. Maya stared at the message, reading it 3 times before the words made sense. She turned slightly, catching a glimpse of the man behind her Asian features, kind eyes, an expensive-looking suit that somehow didn't make him seem intimidating. Her first instinct was to ignore the text. Strangers didn't help people like her. Strangers usually pretended people like her didn't exist. But Emma chose that moment to wake up, and her small cry pierced the quiet car like a bell. Maya felt every passenger's eyes turn toward them, felt the familiar shame burning in her cheeks as she tried to soothe her daughter back to sleep. The businessman across the aisle made an irritated noise and pointedly put in earbuds. Her phone buzzed again. "Please don't feel embarrassed. Babies cry, it's what they do. You're doing a great job." This time, Maya did turn around. The man behind her smiled gently and gave a small wave. There was something in his expression that reminded her of her own father, who'd worked 3 jobs to keep their family afloat before cancer took him when Maya was 16. Kindness without agenda, compassion without condition, she typed back with shaking thumbs. Thank you. I'm sorry if we're disturbing you. You're not disturbing anyone with half a heart, came his immediate reply. I'm Alex, by the way, and I have a daughter too. Well, sort of. My goddaughter. She's 3 now, but I remember those early months. You look like you could use a friend. Maya found herself smiling despite everything, the first real smile she'd worn in weeks. I'm Maya. This is Emma. Beautiful name for a beautiful baby. Are you heading to Chicago for anything good? The question hit Maya like a physical blow, reminding her of the impossible task ahead. She typed and deleted several responses before settling on job interview. Trying to turn our life around. She didn't mention the eviction notice. She didn't mention the $67 in her checking account or the formula she'd watered down to make it last longer. Some burdens were too heavy to share with a stranger, no matter how kind. But Alex seemed to see through her careful omission. His next message came through as the train pulled into Union Station. Maya, I know this might sound crazy, but would you be willing to have coffee with me after your interview? I have a feeling I might be able to help with more than just friendly conversation. Maya's heart pounded as passengers began gathering their belongings around them. She'd heard stories of men who preyed on desperate women, who offered help that came with strings attached. But looking at Alex as he stood and carefully adjusted his briefcase, she saw only genuine concern in his eyes. I don't accept charity, she typed quickly. I'm not offering charity, he replied. I'm offering opportunity. Trust me, there's a difference. The interview went better than Maya had dared hope. The position was at a non-profit organization that provided support services to single mothers, and her own experiences gave weight to her answers that no amount of education could have provided. By the time she shook hands with the director, Maya allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, things were starting to turn around. Alex was waiting for her at a small cafe copyright near the office building, and Maya felt her anxiety spike again as she approached his table. In the restaurant's warm lighting, she could see details she'd missed on the train: the expensive watch, the perfectly tailored clothes, the confidence that came with never having to worry about where your next meal would come from. Congratulations, he said as she sat down. Emma balanced on her hip. I can tell by your smile that the interview went well. How did you? Maya began, then shook her head. Yes, it went well. I think I might actually get the job. That's wonderful. What kind of work is it? As Maya described the position, Alex listened with an attention that made her feel like her words actually mattered. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment, stirring his coffee thoughtfully. Maya, he said finally, I want to tell you something, and I need you to listen with an open mind. My name is Alexander Chen, and I own a company called Green Tech Solutions. Maybe you've heard of us, maybe you haven't, but that's not important. What is important is that 18 months ago, my company started a foundation focused on supporting single mothers who are working to build better lives for their families. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She had heard of Green Tech, and everyone had. It was one of the most successful companies in the country. The foundation provides housing assistance, childcare support, educational opportunities, and career development for women who show determination to change their circumstances. Alex continued. I've been looking for the right person to help run the program, someone who understands the challenges from the inside, who can connect with the women we're trying to serve. I don't understand, Maya whispered. I'm offering you a job, Maya, a real job with a salary that will let you provide for Emma without worrying about next month's rent, health insurance, childcare support, a housing stipend to help you get back on your feet. All I need to know is, are you interested in helping other women find the same hope you've been looking for? Maya stared at him, Emma gurgling happily in her arms, completely oblivious to the moment that was reshaping their entire future. Why? She managed to ask. You don't even know me. Alex smiled, and for the first time, Maya saw past the successful businessman to the person underneath. Because 17 years ago, I was a scared kid aging out of foster care with nowhere to go and no one who cared whether I made it or not. A stranger took a chance on me, gave me a job, helped me get into college, believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I've been looking for the right way to pay that forward ever since. He leaned forward slightly, his voice gentle but certain. I saw you on that train this morning, Ma, yeah, I saw someone fighting with everything she had for the person she loves most. That's exactly the kind of person I want, helping other women find their way. The tears Ma yeah had been holding back all morning finally spilled over, but these were different tears, tears of relief, of gratitude, of a hope so fierce it took her breath away. Emma reached up and patted her cheek with tiny fingers, as if she understood that everything was going to be okay now. Yes, Ma yeah whispered, then cleared her throat and said it again, stronger this time. Yes, I'm interested. More than interested. I want to help. Alex grinned, the expression transforming his face completely. Then welcome to the team, Ma yeah Rodriguez. I have a feeling you're going to change a lot of lives. Starting with my own, Ma yeah said, looking down at Emma, who was smiling up at both of them as if she'd known all along that this was how the story would end. 6 months later, Ma yeah stood in the conference room of the Green Tech Foundation offices, addressing a room full of potential donors. Emma sat in her high chair in the corner, babbling happily to herself while Ma yeah presented the program's first-year results. 43 women had found stable housing, 31 had completed job training programs, 18 had gone back to school, but the number that mattered most to Ma yeah was only one morning on a train when a stranger had chosen kindness over indifference, when desperation had met opportunity, when a single act of human compassion had rippled outward into dozens of changed lives. After the presentation, Alex found Ma yeah packing up Emma's toys. Great job today, he said. You're a natural at this. I had a good teacher, Ma yeah replied, smiling at him. Someone who showed me that sometimes the best help comes from the most unexpected places. Alex chuckled. I have a confession to make. That morning on the train, I almost didn't send that first text. I spent 10 minutes writing and deleting messages, convincing myself it wasn't my place to get involved. What changed your mind? Emma, he said simply. She made this little sound in her sleep, and it reminded me that every choice we make ripples outward in ways we can't even imagine. I realized I had the power to make someone's day a little brighter, and not using that power would have been the real tragedy. As they walked out of the building together, Emma reaching for the autumn leaves dancing in the wind, Ma yeah thought about Riplessa, how one moment of kindness could expand infinitely, touching lives not yet born, creating hope in places where none had existed before. The evening commuter train was pulling into the station as they reached the platform, and Ma yeah watched the faces in the windows of tired workers heading home, students buried in textbooks, parents juggling briefcases and baby carriers. Somewhere in those cars, she knew, someone was fighting a battle that felt impossible to win. I should probably get home, Ma yeah said, shifting Emma to her other hip. Ma yeah, Alex said as she turned to go. Thank you. For what? For reminding me that the best investments aren't in technology or markets or innovation. They're in people, in hope, in the simple act of believing that tomorrow can be better than today. Ma yeah boarded the train and found a seat by the window, Emma already drowsy in her arms. As the train pulled away from the station, she caught sight of Alex on the platform, typing something on his phone. A moment later, her own phone buzzed. Thank you for letting me be part of your story. Some of the best things in life start with a stranger on a train. Ma yeah smiled and typed back. Some of the best things in life start with someone brave enough to care. Outside the window, the city lights blurred past like stars, and Ma yeah held her daughter close, knowing that somewhere out there, other mothers were fighting their own battles, carrying their own hopes, waiting for their own moments when kindness would find them in unexpected places. The train carried them home through the darkness, but Ma yeah wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. She'd learned that sometimes the most beautiful mornings began with the deepest nights, and that miracles often came disguised as ordinary people with extraordinary hearts, sitting just a few rows behind you, waiting for the courage to send a simple text that could change everything.